Hello and welcome. Al-Qaeda is largely defeated, says the CIA chief, less than a year after warning of renewed threats. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, Michael Hayden, identified Saudi Arabia and Iraq as the main places the group has been most diminished, saying it's in retreat in the rest of the world. In the years since 9/11, the United States has led a global effort to kill or capture Al-Qaeda's leaders, and the CIA chief says this effort has paid off. While the Iraq war was originally a boon for Al-Qaeda, helping it to generate volunteers and donations, some analysts believe that the tide has reversed and many Muslims are turning away from the group's ideology. So we ask on this show, is Al-Qaeda getting weaker or stronger? Now don't forget, we take your calls on this show and you can reach us at the numbers at the bottom of your screen. Well, joining me for the discussion is Abdel Bari Atwan, the editor of one of the largest Arabic language daily newspapers, Al-Quds Al-Arabi, based in London. He joins us from there today. Mr. Atwan is one of the few who's interviewed Osama bin Laden face to face and is the author of The Secret History of Al-Qaeda, which draws upon years of access to the group's associates to find out what they want and what their capabilities are. And joining us from Prague in the Czech Republic is Reuel Gerecht, a fellow at the American Enterprise Institute in Washington, D.C. For 20 years, he worked for the US government, including 10 years as a Middle East specialist with the CIA. He's the author of The Islamic Paradox, Shiite Clerics, Sunni Fundamentalists, and the Coming of the Arab Democracy. Gentlemen, welcome both of you. And Reuel Gerecht, if I can start with you and ask about this quote by the CIA director Michael Hayden saying that Al-Qaeda is much weaker. Do you agree with that take?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at this, you should look at it two ways, operationally and philosophically. Operationally, the organization is certainly in trouble. I mean, it's been unable to strike the United States since 9/11. If you look at the command structure and foot soldiers from 2001, a good guess is it's lost about 80% of its manpower. It is now, I think, making the strategic mistake of actually attacking locals. You saw that clearly in Iraq, where Al-Qaeda is on the path of being routed, and it started doing it also in Pakistan, and one suspects in the not too distant future it's also going to lose ground in Pakistan, and without Pakistan, I think Al-Qaeda is probably operationally doomed. Philosophically, that's more difficult, but again, if you look at the conversation in the Arab world, certainly Al-Qaeda cannot be happy. If you look at the speeches of bin Laden and Ayman Zawahiri since, say, 2005, they are increasingly whiny.
Well, Abdel Bari Atwan, do you take the same kind of viewpoint? Are you reassured by Michael Hayden's words?
I believe it is premature to say that Al-Qaeda is weakened. Maybe Al-Qaeda is in defensive state in Iraq. Maybe it is not strong as it used to be in Saudi Arabia. But I think Al-Qaeda is stronger now when we look at how Al-Qaeda transformed. Al-Qaeda is not as it used to be, a pyramid-built organization having a safe haven in Tora Bora. Now Al-Qaeda is a flat, loose organization. Al-Qaeda now very strong in North Africa, for example. They never had bases there. Al-Qaeda now is regrouping again in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and it seems they managed to conduct a lot of attacks against the American troops there. Also Al-Qaeda is opening franchises in Lebanon and in Somalia. So we cannot say Al-Qaeda is weak. And Al-Qaeda maybe now is different than it used to be, say, when they launched attacks against World Trade Center or against, for example, London and Madrid. So I think it is very optimistic to say that Al-Qaeda is finished. If Al-Qaeda is finished, we have to capture first the leader of Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and also the leader of Taliban, Mullah Omar. But until now, it seems those people in the run. So the war against terrorism, which invested, billions or maybe hundreds of billions in dollars, is still fruitless.
Yes. I want to put to you the quotes of General Michael Hayden, the CIA director, and this is what he actually said. He said, on balance, we are doing pretty well. Near strategic defeat of the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, near strategic defeat for the Al-Qaeda in Saudi Arabia, significant setbacks for the Al-Qaeda globally, and here I'm going to use the word ideologically, as a lot of the Islamic world pushes back on their form of Islam. Now, what then defines defeat when it comes to Al-Qaeda? Because it seems obviously it's not like a club as such, it's not just a grouping, it seems to be so much more disparate around the world now. How would you define a defeat if it comes?
Well, a defeat, when we say Al-Qaeda is defeated, it means Al-Qaeda disappeared completely from the map. It means Al-Qaeda is actually finished. No action at all, no regrouping at all. And this is not the case. As long as Osama bin Laden is still in the run, as long as Ayman al-Zawahiri, his deputy, capable of issuing videotapes or audio tapes, as long as Al-Qaeda is conducting attacks in Iraq, and we see it in daily basis. Also in Yemen, they attacked the Italian embassy. They tried to bomb the American embassy. Also in Lebanon, the other Al-Absi today issued a statement saying that Al-Qaeda is in Lebanon and attacking Hezbollah, for example. The same thing in North Africa. A few days ago, a cell of Al-Qaeda attacked a military barrack in Algeria. So we cannot say it is defeated. When Al-Qaeda action is dead completely, yes, we can say Al-Qaeda is defeated. But we know that there are a huge amount of money invested now on the Arab world and the Muslim world to fight Al-Qaeda. And definitely these kind of money, these kind of efforts bear some fruit, especially in Saudi Arabia. Well, but the final defeat, I think, is still far away.
Okay, Reuel Gerecht, if I can put to you an email that we got from a regular viewer in the UK. Paula Varley wrote in from Norwich saying, I remain to be convinced that the CIA is doing anything other than adjusting to the new mood in Washington and readying themselves for a probable Obama presidency. To what extent do you feel there is a political need, or a need, certainly in the CIA, to go with the way politics are going in the US and put out a positive message at this time?
Well, I mean, I think the CIA always has a finger in the air when it comes to American politics. However, you know, I don't think if it were being sensitive to Mr. Obama, for example, it would say what it's saying now, since Senator Obama has said clearly he believes that America is less safe, that the danger from Al-Qaeda has grown since 9/11 or since 2003 and the invasion of Iraq. I don't think that's terribly credible. I mean, again, you know, as long as Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri are alive, then Al-Qaeda institutionally is a going proposition, maybe even if they die. However, the institution is really defined by its ability to attack the United States in a rather dramatic way. It is also defined by its ability to attack other Western powers. And again, I just don't think it is as doing as well. Now, if we wake up one day and we discover that Al-Qaeda has, in fact, recruited a group, it doesn't have to be a large group, of very talented, educated, radical Muslims who have degrees in biology, chemistry, nuclear engineering, and you know, aeronautical engineering, then we could have a lot of trouble.
Well, let's get.
But I think it is fair to say that any institution that loses the amount of manpower that it has since 2001 is in trouble.
Well, let's get a call in from Saudi Arabia. We have Moyes on the line. Go ahead with your question or comment, please.
Hi, Riz. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. The thing is that while I'm listening to your program right now, listening to the panelists, I think what we need to understand here is that is the West defeating itself through its own policies? Because whatever the resistance that we are finding in, we automatically label it to Al-Qaeda, whereas with the rising food prices, the inflation in the developed part of the world, and the dictatorship and the tyranny, I think that's also fueling the cause of what Al-Qaeda has always been proposing, which is like the fight against imperialism.
Let me put that down.
I mean, is that the case?
Yeah, I want to let's put this to Abdel Bari Atwan in London and ask that to what degree, you know, is the situation, the deteriorating economic perhaps situation, and some of the political turmoil in the West, you know, allowing this climate for Al-Qaeda, the sort of sense of Al-Qaeda to flourish or diminish?
Yes, if you remember, Riz, when the people who carried out attacks in the undergrounds in London here, they said they were actually sympathetic with their Iraqi people, Iraqi brothers who were killed in Iraq. So the foreign policy plays a major role in strengthening or weakening Al-Qaeda. This is a very, very valid point. When it comes to the hardship which is created by the food prices, the inflation, the unemployment, which is thriving in the Arab world, definitely this will play to the hands of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda always criticizing the Arab rulers who are dictatorship, who are actually using or embezzling the wealth of the countries. So I think Al-Qaeda now will be in much stronger position. I believe Al-Qaeda now is in an adapting process. They are trying to look again at their strategy, try to regroup again, try to actually rectify their strategy in a way or another. Like what's happening in Iraq, they stopped actually attacking the Shia in wide scale as they used to do in previous stages. So I think this is very crucial moment for Al-Qaeda. People are frustrated at the Muslim world, frustrated from the American foreign policies, frustrated from their own rulers who are dictators, who are violating human rights. So I think Al-Qaeda in the end will reap all this. And we have to remember, Riz, Al-Qaeda is not a mass organization. Al-Qaeda is a very small groups, and they are trying to exploit the hardship which is inflicted on the Arab and Muslim and use it to its own advantage.
Well, let's see what Mohammed in Nigeria has to contribute to the show. Go ahead, Mohammed.
Yeah, the question is, the question goes to the second presenter. You know, he was telling us that the question of Al-Qaeda being very much around, as far as he is concerned, if Al-Qaeda begin to employ people who attacks America, who attacks the European interests and other associates, that is the only reason and the only basis for him to think Al-Qaeda is still is very much around. Now, do we have a golden scale of measuring the recruitment of Al-Qaeda, that is to say, recruiting people in the intellectual environment, that is, having people who are trained in biology, medical practices, and so forth.
Mohammed,
how do we determine that?
Okay, let's have a look at that. We'll leave that question hanging as we take a short break here. We're going to go just take a few moments and then come back with our discussion on the state of Al-Qaeda and an answer to Mohammed's question from Nigeria in just a moment. Don't go away.